Well, welcome to my channel, Mary Born MD, ND, naturopathic doctor. Sometimes that isn't very clear, but um, today we're going to talk about the final half of the fourth week of the Three Rivers Challenge. And this has been a delight. It's always good to have something planned or looking forward to during January and February because they can be very depressing months if you aren't involved in something. So this week, at the end of this week, I had a lot of leftovers. So my husband and I don't eat a traditional lunch. So we don't use up our leftovers as a lunch. We, I usually have some yogurt and some applesauce, and he usually just a little bit of here and there. And so our meals are basically dinner, and that's what I've been showing you. And this week, the video will begin with the minestrone soup that is left over from last week and needed to be finished up. And then I made bread. And years ago, when I was in my late 30s, my two boys were going to be leaving home. They were 14 and 16 at the time. And I worked in my husband's office, and I did not really have a career of my own. I was really interested in natural health at that time and learning more about it and trying to make healthy meals as best I could. But back then, it wasn't like the homesteading era of now. Um, and so and we skied. We learned to ski when our boys were in ski club and they were teenagers at the time. And we thought, why should they be having all the fun? So we learned to ski with them. And then my husband went on to do snowboarding, and so did my boys. And so when we were skiing, we went to a lodge with another couple. And this couple brought their bread baking equipment with them. No, it wasn't just, a little bread machine. It was a mill and a mixer, and they went from grinding the grain to us eating the bread in 90 minutes. And I was so impressed that, and then as the weekend went on, they made homemade pancakes, sourdough, this, I ate bread, pizza. Our whole meal plan was around the equipment that they brought. And so my husband and I chatted on the way home, and he saw that I was enthusiastic, but the equipment was pretty pricey. It was about $700 for the set. But I'm thinking, I'm going to be an empty nester not too long, and I I really liked this baking and milling process, and so we bit the bullet and I went whole hog into it. I actually created a business called Nutritious Delicious. I taught bread making in community colleges. It was a wonderful business for me. But going into 12 to 15 years later, I started to understand better the importance of herbs and adding that to my regime, and I started to go to classes. I became a certified herbalist, and the nutritious delicious label no longer fit. So I changed my name to For the Health of It. So that was my company name, For the Health of It. It's been For the Health of It for 30 some years now. So I still love to show people how to bake bread. And in the today's video, I'm going to be showing you about how I went about grinding the grain and creating bread. But I also learned when I was teaching these classes that there were some people that could not tolerate, even though I had organic grain, they couldn't tolerate eating a yeasted bread. And my understanding became clearer and clearer because our guts are totally compromised by our environment and the stress and um, the way we eat. And so I could understand gradually what was happening with our digestive systems and why we couldn't tolerate fresh bread baking as fresh as that is. And so I implemented adding sourdough to my bread baking so that it would be easier to digest. And I don't use all whole wheat because whole wheat does have an element, unless you soak it, it has a chemical in it that inhibits digestion. And of course, I didn't know this when I was in my 30s. It's a process of learning. Um, and as you go along, you learn more and more. And I'm in my 80s and I'm still learning more and more. So a good deal of the video will be me making this bread and turning it into not only a loaf of bread, but rolls for dinner and sticky buns for a breakfast. So I hope you enjoy that aspect of this coming video. Um, my husband has helped me with taking the videos of me doing this process, and he really does a very good job, and I appreciate him so much because I don't have set up where I can videotape myself. What I'm doing now is on my computer, and so that's why I don't um, talk over my videos. I haven't learned how to do that yet. I just recently started using a microphone. So in another video, I went out and spread poppy seeds. And I'll link that video in the description below because in that video, I also show how to propagate rosemary. Uh, and I took some of the fresh rosemary and added it to a sauce that I made. Now, the sauce is an interesting thing. I had leftover chicken noodle soup, and I took that, put it in my bullet blender with half a cup of milk and made a cream sauce. And that might be a great idea for you to use up a little bit of soup in some way to make a sauce out of that soup rather than throwing it away. It's another way to reinvent a leftover. So hopefully you'll get some good ideas from the coming videos, and that I've been a blessing in some way. I hope that you give me a thumbs up if you've liked the video. And if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button. and comment. I love hearing from you. I'm getting more and more comments, and it's really a delight to be able to communicate with people and not just looking at myself in a in a video form. So I appreciate you attending today and watching this end of the 4th week of the Three Rivers Challenge. And I hope that you get some good ideas from something that I've been showing you. So thanks so much for viewing, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so today we need to make some bread, and I want to add some whole grain to it. This is my mill. I've had it for 50 years. It's very loud, so I will try to tune that out when I do the video. There we have it. Beautiful whole wheat flour. And I'll be adding some organic flour to it, and we'll make some bread. All right, so we're going to add half a cup of oil. I'm using olive oil, and a half a cup of honey. And if you put the oil in first, this honey should not stick. It should come right out. Just like that. So much easier. Okay, now we're going to add our sourdough starter. You see how nice and bubbly that is. This has been activating. I started it yesterday morning, put it back in the refrigerator last night, and then started it up again this morning. And we're going to make the bread with it. We're going to add some warm water. This is 2 cups of warm water. And we'll put the dough hook in. What did I do with the dough hook? The dough hook is in. I'm going to put the cover on. And just give that of a mix. Now we're going to add our whole wheat flour. We're going to blend that in pretty good. Whole wheat flour takes a lot more time to absorb the water than regular flour does. And now we're going to add our bread flour.
And you might be asking why I'm not saying how many cups, but really flour depends on the humidity in the air. Today it's pretty humid, and if it was a dry day, I might be adding a little less flour than I'm adding today. You listen for the motor basically, and you look for it to start pulling away from the sides of the bowl and creating gluten strands. And you can see it's starting to clean the bowl. And at this point, we're going to let it go for 8 minutes. Okay, so it's been 8 minutes, and you can see that the dough is now totally clearing that's noisy. It's totally clearing the bowl, and at this point, we're going to leave the dough in the bowl, but I want to take the dough hook out. So I'm just going to wet my hands so the dough doesn't stick. Pull up on that. We're going to leave the dough to rise right here in this bowl. Kind of push it around a little bit. This cover back on, and this cover on. And we'll be back in a couple hours when this is totally risen. Okay, so our dough has risen. Looks really good. Because this has a little bit of yeast in it, I typically don't do the sourdough stretch and folds. I simply shape it and let it do its final rise. And we'll make dinner rolls and sweet rolls and a loaf of bread. Still quite tacky, which will make a nice soft, lovely loaf. And we'll put that in that nice greased loaf pan. And we'll make some dinner rolls. You want to just make a nice top to it like that. And just take it and roll it around. And we'll put these in a dish to bake. That's it. All right, our dinner rolls are all made, and now we're going to go on to our sweet rolls. And so I don't know how much of that we got. We got our rolls. Something went wrong with our camera. We have this buttered and brown sugared. The next step is to add our cinnamon. And then, let's see, I had finish up these walnuts that I toasted the other day. There we go. And now we're just gonna roll it up. You basically want a nice tight roll so there's no air gaps. So do the best you can at tucking it in and rolling it. And when you get to the end, what I like to do is just kind of pick this up and pull it over and pinch it down to try and seal that so that it doesn't break apart. And then roll it over onto the seam. Make sure that you've got it good and rolled. And then we'll take our cookie sheet that I've put a parchment paper on, and then we cut it in half and cut it in quarters like that. And what I like to do, because it seems like the blade mashes it down, I like to do the next step with dental floss. So it makes a nice round roll. You just tightly push it down under the bread and roll it like that. Cross over and pinch. And I'll bring you back when these are all baked and yummy, ready to eat.
差不多下雨了。
You can go down there too.
Good.